pretty reverse.
Wow. 5 seconds to go. Find Hawk. Hawk spins. He rolls on. And Arizona State wins it. Edwards pulls off. And buries the front.
Daniels takes the shot for three.
Welcome into Pitchfork Lunch. Yes, I am Michael Caratanito at Diablo00 on X, the artist formerly known as, well, you know, the Twitter. Again, apologies for the a little bit of a delayed start. Yes, I know it's not 12, it's 12:34, but nonetheless, still got everything. ASU had their pro day today. I thought I would be back a little bit earlier, but had to get out to pro day, check it out. Got some sound from there. Me and Ro Torrance, Chris Edmonds, Deshaun Mallory, Gio Sanders, Joey Ramos, all out there today. And yes, Ro Torrance did get the invite to the NFL Combine. D Ford as well out there. And yes, you guys looking pretty good. Trey Brown looking pretty good. So anyway, starting a bit late. Apologies, but hey, you know what? Flexibility, and it's all here. So, but yes, follow me at Diablo00 on X, artist formerly known as Twitter. My IG, the show's live there, michael.caratanudo.5. You can check it out there as well. Also, the YouTube guys, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I know Pitchfork Lunchers, I say it every day. You can go to my YouTube, go to YouTube, search it. It's M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat 005 at MVC005 on YouTube. Subscribe. Got interviews coming up, aiming to get Coach Bartlett, ASU women's softball coach, which I was at last night. They had an awesome 8-2 victory over Grand Canyon. We'll get to that. But yes, ton of interviews coming up. Also sound, again, get to talk to guys today after their pro day workouts. So depending on time, we will hear from all that I was able to catch up with, some. But again, the next little bit. But yeah, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you miss it, you can go back and watch the interviews again, getting different coaches and players on. That is the added bonus too, getting to cover Sun Devil Nation. So yes, forks up, you know it, everybody. But that being said, yeah, so pro day was today, and a little interesting. Chris Edmonds ran a really good 40. But again, his length, Ro Torrance, his length, being a corner. And again, like I said, he was at the combine, NFL combine. So going through it again is, actually people say, well, I mean, teams have a lot of pro days. Some guys don't lift, don't run, don't throw. But nonetheless, I feel about that. But yeah, pro day, pretty good. A lot of scouts out there. So we'll see. See what happens. Deshaun Mallory definitely aim to play his sound today, but we will hear from Coach Barlow. Also, last night, like I said, full disclosure, I was at softball, but with the baseball game starting later, I was able to go over to the late innings of the baseball game and actually got sound from, and again, it was a tough 6-4 loss to New Mexico. Yeah, the frustration from Willie Bloomquist is there, but frustrated in how the game turned out. Not with there's still a lot of games left. He says it. So we'll hear from Coach Bloomquist. Like I said, we'll hear from Coach Bartlett too after the softball victory. So yes, a lot to get to today. Plus men's hoops, they will play tonight at 8:30, first round of the Pac-12 tournament, and they will face Utah, who, like I said yesterday, they have beaten twice. Now, no Jose Perez. We know about all that. But, look, I mean, can Utah beat them? Sure. Utah does have a talented team. But it's one of those things where if you ASU has the confidence. And that they can beat this team, but it'll be different. I mean, Bobby Hurley, has talked about, we've heard obviously the conversations, what Coach Hurley has said about the way his team has been, playing, how they respond, how, you'll see the fight that they have. Speaking of fight yesterday, I know I talked about, and if you missed it, yes, the Pac-12 first team, the all Pac-12 team, the all Pac-12 freshman team, and Frankie Collins was an honorable mention in the all Pac-12 thing, first team, second team. He was an honorable mention. But Frankie Collins, who I was saying with the Steels, but he was on the first team all defensive team. So I was right in front of my face. I botched mentioning that. So that's my screw up. But again, forks up absolutely to Frankie Collins. Well-deserved, obviously, the season he's had with, the program's all-time record in steals, but other coaches played against him. They know, what the team was able to do with the pressure, what he was able to do with the pressure. So yes, that is, that part is very, very awesome. So yes, Frankie Collins, first team, all defensive team, well-deserved. But fast forward to their game tonight, like I said, 8:30 against Utah. Last hangover. I would tell you. Well, look, I'm not even going to go to it. There's lore, and I mean stuff that's known, like the football team when they were in the Las Vegas Bowl under it was Dennis Erickson's last season. They were favored, against Boise State. Some older players may have stayed out a little too late the night before. Last hangover in Vegas. There's a net. Well, hey, it's the last hangover in Vegas until the next hangover in Vegas, right? Right, Low Tone. It's the last hangover till the next one. But anyway, I digress. And yeah, who knows if they don't play well for Coach Hurley, they might make a Hangover 4 movie. But no, nonetheless, look, for Frankie Collins, again, the way this team can play defense, yes, Jose Perez was a big part of that. I talked about it, read his statement on air. Look, he said a few weeks ago, and like I said, I was in the presser, but I reposted it. What Chris Cartman said, I put on Twitter. I had reposted that too because I was about to type it out, but he said the same thing. A few weeks ago, March was, win or go home. And, wanting to finish the season out strong, saying, he believed what, him and his teammates could do. And then the old adage, he took his ball and left. So when I look at that, like, yeah, okay, he made a decision to go, start the pro thing a week early. Because, look, they have to win 4 games in a row to get to the tournament, the NCAA tournament, the big dance, right? They have to win 4 games in a row with their record. Look, starting with Utah, Devils fans, look, I mean, they won both games against Utah. They can beat this team. Now, without Jose Perez, somebody like Kamari Lance have to dig a little deeper, and Adam Miller, obviously, Sean Phillips Jr., what can you get from him? Sella Bonge, bring that energy, right? But that's the the challenge and and not being hungover in Vegas. So that is the challenge. But when you look at just again the two games, and I'll dive into them in a little bit. We'll cover it. I'll get back to it in a little bit. But that's the thing. Like, you beat this team. Yes, they're going to make adjustments. Yes, they have a good team, but there are spots that worked. And yes, missing a Jose Perez who's putting in 15 to 25 a night. That's a bummer. He had a team high 25 against SC, doesn't play against UCLA. It's the worst second half of the year that ASU had. I mean, they've had some games where, overall they may have not shot well, but just points, everything. Like, it was an atrocious offensive second half. And yeah, I'm with you. I mean, hey, if Coach Hurley, I know he says a little older, he slowed down, but if he could suit up the first 5 minutes of the game and the last 3 minutes of the game, if he had some eligibility left, Lotone, I'd take that, man. I would definitely take that, because Coach Hurley, look, I mean, again, outside of, being obviously a Jersey guy, his dad's a Jersey high school legend as a coach, and then playing for Coach K, doing what he did, obviously, the accident, but playing in the NBA. Look, being a Jersey guy, obviously the competitiveness and expecting, his team to perform up to a level. Well, this is that time of year. Look, can somebody get hot, win 4 in a row? It's happened in other conference tournaments, and not just, mid-majors. It's happened in bigger conferences too. Some team just gets hot, and it's like, holy wow. And some matchups work out. Look, you beat Utah, there's some confidence, But with Arizona, who won the regular season title, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, vomit, I know. Regular season Pac-12 title, the 1 seed, Washington State, the 2 seed, who beat Arizona twice, but wouldn't see them until the Pac-12 championship game, obviously, because of the bracket. Washington State being the 2 seed, and then Colorado being the 3 seed, and then Oregon being the 4 seed. So, I mean, they're obviously not playing today. But it's going to be tough, because if ASU wins that, yeah, so bracket wise, SC and Washington are playing right now, by the way, kids, just so you know. There's 357. They're under 4 in the first half, and SC is up 32-28 right now, the number 9 seed over Washington. Then number 5, UCLA will play Oregon State. Obviously, it's all in Vegas, but UCLA, the home team, that's at 2:30. And then at 6 p.m., the Bay Area rivalry game between number 7 Cal, number 10 Stanford's at 6 and 8:30, number 6 Utah, number 11 ASU. So the winner of this USC Washington game, the 8-9 game, draws number 1 Arizona. So that's your reward for winning. Obviously, USC just beat Arizona, but last game of the year. And again, not that Tommy Lloyd and Arizona weren't taken serious. Believe me, I would never make excuses for that team, because they should have won that game outright anyway. But the winner of Washington SC gets that. UCLA, Oregon State, whoever wins that gets Oregon tomorrow. Oh, so the USC Washington winner gets Arizona same time tomorrow at 12 p.m. And then the winner of the UCLA Oregon State game at 2:30 today plays at 2:30 tomorrow, and they draw Oregon, right? And then the winner of Cal Stanford at 6 p.m. tonight will play Washington State tomorrow at 6 p.m. And then the winner of number 6 Utah, number 11 ASU, they will get Colorado. And here's the thing, right? If you're ASU, now look, it's going to take work. Obviously, a lot of basketball ahead. You can beat Utah. You can beat Colorado. And okay, granted, with Jose Perez, which made a difference, so that aspect would be different. But Washington State, who's headed to the tournament anyway, who I think obviously beats Stanford and or Cal, they get to the semifinals. ASU could get to the semifinals. Now, granted, they get the semifinals and lose, they're done. But that's the crazy part, because they could have a rematch with Washington State. And yes, I know. I'm looking at all of you in the camera right now, Pitchfork Lunchers. I know it, because there is maroon and gold shaded goggles in my vision, and you know that. But all homer aside, look, you beat Utah, you beat Colorado, chances are you have another matchup with Washington State. Now, yes, would they want revenge? Are they a very good team? Would it be tough to beat them twice with how, again, ASU is Frankie Collins, Jeremiah Nielsen, no Jose Perez. You got Adam Miller. So, I mean, literally, it's a team that could give crazy hope, and they could win. They could get to that semifinal game and play Washington State again, and then see. And then, but if you get to the finals, they have to play either. The crazy part is, Arizona would be taking on. Because look, even if they say USC again, Arizona's had a bad taste in their mouth. I unfortunately feel bad for SC, because I think they get talented. Yes, good. I think they keep close for a little bit, but inevitably get punched in the mouth. So in that semifinal, Arizona, I mean, look, Oregon's the 4 seed. Yes, they've had a good year. UCLA 10-10 in conference play. That's just kind of that wild card. Like, if they play defense, offensively, they haven't shot great, but I mean, if they can keep it, they keep the pressure up in the defensive end of the court. For those that have seen UCLA play, yeah, not too bad. I mean, it can happen. Oh yes, I'm with you, Low Tone. Hurley mentioned that. Well, the whole NIL thing. Believe me, I'm going to talk about that after the NCAA tournament on a show, because look, it needs more, like, I'm not going to say regulations, because then it's like, well, then it's just kind of almost going back to the old days. It needs to be regulated to a point, but it needs guidelines. I mean, this is ridiculous to just the way it is. But I digress. And yeah, headed to the Big 12. I mean, that will make a big difference as well. Yes, and Sean Phillips Jr., absolutely. And look, he came off the injury. You're going to be, I mean, he was on a minutes restriction to start, talked about it on the show. A lot of you Pitchfork Lunchers saw that. He was on a minutes restriction to start, but the more he's played, and when he doesn't pick up those ticky-tack fouls, it is very encouraging watching Sean Phillips Jr. And going forward, again, but tonight, I mean, going forward, very excited. But for tonight, like, he can stump Utah down low, who obviously has a very good center, very good low post play by Utah. But again, a team that they were able to beat twice. The first time Jose Perez started, the second time he actually came off the bench. There was a little issue at the end of, the Cal game, but Jose Perez didn't start. But then when he came off the bench at Utah, again, the way he played. But this team, look, you get that one win, you get confidence. It is a fickle, funny thing, as a lot of you know. So again, I'll get back into a little more of Utah games. But last night, ASU softball, man, absolutely awesome. An 8-2 win over Grand Canyon. Now, yes, for those that saw the game and you look at it, they scored their 8 runs in the first 2 innings. 4 in the first, 4 in the second. Now, look, you get out to an 8-0 lead. That does not suck, right? You get out to an 8-0 lead. And yeah, Grand Canyon was able to muster 2 runs, but And yeah, you would like to see more consistency, but Grand Canyon didn't start their number one pitcher, who is again very good, but ended up coming in the game. But now this is an ASU team that's won 2 in a row. I mean, they won that last game against Washington. Look, Washington, number 5 in the country. Again, not making excuses. They dropped the first 2 games in Seattle to a very, very talented, good Washington team. Again, with another local kid, Riley Holtorf. If you have not seen her play, again, having covered her in high school, seeing the talent there, but plays shortstop for UW, and I mean, can hit. Yeah, she is a bummer that she's at UW, but again, very stoked for her because, like I said, having covered her at the prep level in high school, very awesome. But side note, but they win that last game against Washington 9-3. Then they put up 8 runs against Grand Canyon. Like I said, in the first 2 innings, 4 in the first, 4 in the second, but you're up 8-0. I mean, that's a huge mountain to climb. And yes, in softball and even college baseball, obviously playing with aluminum bats, it's a big mountain to climb. Teams can do it because you figure, well, if we can score that, they can score that. And Grand Canyon came in with the record of 20-5 overall. So, and they've played some pretty good teams as well. So it's it's look, I mean, yeah, and we'll hear from Coach Bartlett in a little bit. But yeah, you want to be more consistent as it goes on. But when you have somebody like Tanya Wendell has 4 RBIs, it's 1 for 3 from the plate, or no, it was 3 for 3. Sorry, 3 for 3 from the plate. She scored a run, drove in 4. So yeah, that is that's a hell of a game. And then when you get the pitching that she did from Deb Jones, which again, we'll hear from Coach Bartlett. This team, again, awesome. Absolutely awesome. Like I said, 4 in the first, 4 in the second. And then Grand Canyon scored 1 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth. Again, we'll get to that. But Deb Jones on the mound for this Sun Devil softball team, again, which she's overcome and obviously transfer to. Coach, you'll hear it in our post game from last night. I played the sound with that. But again, they get the 8-2 victory. So that is, again, very, very awesome. Baseball, like I said, New Mexico, that's tough, man. I mean, it was 3-0 right away. It's a team that drew 8 walks last night, but unfortunately couldn't fully capitalize on all the walks. And Willie Bloomquist, he did talk about that post game. They fall to 7-9 now, 2 games below 500. Also 2 games below 500 at home. They're 6-8 at home. They've lost 3 in a row. And now, just little future. But this weekend they go to Tucson to play that team down south, and in the rivalry game. And you'll hear Willie's comments about how obviously he wants to beat them. You can just always feel the passion, and from being on when you're playing, it's obviously exponentially probably feel it's exponentially more of a rush and the dislike and disdain. And even, throughout his pro career, but now he's come back, he's coaching. And yes, he just, talks about how the fans are down there, which again, not a surprise, but how it adds to it. So Arizona 3 this weekend, 7 on Friday, 6 on Saturday, and then 4 p.m. on Sunday. The Devils are taking on the Wildcats. So that being said, big weekend, but they lose 6-4 yesterday. Again, they drew 8 walks. And just, Brandon Compton, first came in a while that he just went hitless, unfortunately. But as I said, New Mexico State spotted him 3 runs in the bottom of the first. I mean, bottom of the first, ASU's up 3-0 until the top of the fourth, when New Mexico gets 3 runs and they tie it up at 3, and then they get 3 more. in the top of the sixth to go up 6-3. ASU got one in the bottom of the eighth, had a chance to get a few more, but that made it 6-4, and that was the final. Like I said, Harris Williams talked about being better to play. He was 0 for 3 last night. He drew one of the walks. Ryan Campos, not a bad night at all. He was 1 for 3, but he had 2 walks. Nick McLean was 0 for 2, but he drew 3 walks. But Brandon Compton, 0 for 5 was Brandon Compton last night. Again, it's baseball. Here, and it's not an excuse. It's not a homer excuse. Coach Willie talks about that. Low tone. That is a good question. Bigger upside the rest of this baseball. For Coach Bartlett and softball's a little banged up too. Baseball is too. New Contreras not being at third, and you will. I've played the sound. But in post games that I posted from Willie. Not having New at third, that's tough. But oh man, bigger. You know what? And New, this I know it's a typical me answer. Low tone, you'll get used to this one. But I truly want to say that, and not just because softball has the record, but I think the upside for both teams, because look, the young pitching for baseball, middle relief, and Cole Carlone, gave up a home run last night, but he's had, some challenging outings. But that being said, overall, Schieffer, the way he's pitched, out of the bullpen. The guys that came out of the bullpen last night. Wyatt Halverson, he wasn't going to go over 50 pitches, and man, he punched out 5 guys. Halverson. 6. Sorry. Look, it was a +5, but he threw 51 pitches, and Willie Bloomquist talked about, said, with him coming back, and he's worked back from, being injured, but just on the pitch count, he went 3 innings, gave up 1 hit, no runs, 6 Ks, and just 1 walk. You'll take that. A first start. So you get that from Halverson. Now it's a guy, that's a young man that, and again, you want to build him up right, but he could be a Saturday starter. He could be a Sunday starter. Cole Carlone, again, he pitched 2 innings, gave up 2 hits, 3 runs, all of them earned, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. But yeah, that was, and Coach and Willie talks about that too. But I would say, to answer your question, the bigger upside to me would be, literally, I think both, because look, softball wise, Washington obviously going to be tough. UCLA going to be very tough. Standing wise, UCLA, Washington, unfortunately, that team down south too, Oregon, and Cal's off to a very good start. It's, conference play, Cal's 1-2, as we are as well. But look, Oregon State is coming in this weekend, and that's an Oregon State team. They're 12-14, they're 1-2 overall. This is I think a growing series for ASU, and they definitely need to take 2 out of 3, low tone. I think that softball, Coach Bartlett, the second year, obviously last year though, of the Pac-12, but second year in it, but what they have pitching and lineup wise too. They start passing the bat they at the points they did last year, but even the beginning of the season they can. Now for baseball, on the other side of that is, to start the season off, the offense was clicking. It was huge. It was going they were, yes, playing tough teams, and non-conference should be tough. And in baseball, again, with the amount of young, talented people playing baseball, and you look at, Division I schools, but you're going to, only so many on a team, it's going to be spread out. their non-conference, and that was, they were hitting the ball, and at home, but playing Texas A&M twice, playing TCU. I think baseball, because of what the young pitching can, and there's still some young pitchers that we haven't seen that I think by the end of the season they'll have more. They'll have a little more action and responsibility out of the bullpen. Lotone, I am definitely with you on that. But yeah, I think they'll both be fighting for regional spot. I think softball would actually have probably the best chance to host a regional. But by the time they get to the Pac-12 tournament, and look, I mean, this series for baseball, no, it's not. I mean, for in Sun Devil Nation, it is the end all be all. And I want to smack the hell out of those kitty cats. Yeah, beat the kitties, like you said. And Low Tone Wilbur, like I've said it since I was even before I was at ASU. So a few minutes ago, it's not really tough to be intimidated by a team that's a mascot. And when you see Wilbur, I mean, Wilbur licks himself. It's a kitty cat. It's not really that intimidating. So they need to beat this team down. But yeah, I think softball, even with the Pac-12 tournament in both softball and baseball. But I think softball actually could be in a prime position to at least host a regional, and then with their ranking, hopefully maybe get lucky and a lower seed win, so they host a super regional too. I mean, a few years back under Coach Ford, they were it was a Tempe regional. They were the top seed, and they hosted the super regional where they unfortunately lost to Northwestern. But yeah, I think that ASU would have to go on the road to do it, but I'm excited for this pitching. Schieffer, again, didn't throw yesterday, but Wyatt Halverson, Matt Teeding, 2/3 of an inning looked good. Ben Jacobs, finished out the game. But I mean, to look at what they can do. Yeah. So we'll get to more. We'll hear from Willie Bloomquist, but yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Baseball, softball, pro day today, men's hoops. Yeah, Frank Collins. All right. So I'm going to step aside, but when we get back, we will break down baseball and softball, and we'll hear from Megan Bartlett, obviously the women's softball head coach, her second year here in Tempe, and we'll also hear from Willie Bloomquist. But we'll have more coming up here. Don't go too far as we keep rolling here on Pitchfork Lunch. And we are back here on Pitchfork Lunch. Yes, I am Michael Carrington at Diablo00 on X, artist formerly known as the Twitter. Check the show out live daily there. Usually from 12 to 1, started at about 12:30 today, ASU Pro Day. So again, flexibility. I know anywhere else would have got in trouble, would have been doing the show from the side of the road, which I probably should have just sat there and did it from outside. It's a beautiful day outside here It's a beautiful day in the Sun Devil neighborhood, kids. That's what I'm talking about. But nonetheless, so at Diablo00 on X, my Instagram, my IG, Michael.Caracino.5. Also subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat 005 at MVC005 on YouTube. Subscribe away. And you will be again, you can go back, see, catch up on interviews from the fall, winter, and now we're into the spring. Get caught up, shows, voices, all that good stuff. So anyway, that being said, but yeah, we roll on as again the men's hoops team starts the Pac-12 tournament tonight as they do that, and then yes, ASU baseball this weekend. Got to put this up there. Gotta love it. Yep, beat the Kitties and get this train back on track. Again, you at least win 2 out of 3. I mean, yes, I want to sweep the whole series. That but yeah, and that's what I was responding to that. So yeah, no, it'll be very very interesting. But softball wise, last night 8-2. I know I mentioned it. They beat Grand Canyon 4 in the first, 4 in the second, and that was it. And Deb Jones pitched one hell of a game as she pitched a complete game, 7 innings. She had 7 hits, 2 runs, both earned, struck out 3, only walked 1. So yeah, I mean, look, that's Grand Canyon could not get anything going offensively. It's a team, like I said, they came in at 20-5 overall. And they, like I said, it played definitely some tough teams, tough schedule. I actually played one of the tournaments in Tempe already too, that ASU hosted. So, that in and of itself, very huge, very, very, very huge. But the way Deb Jones pitched, and we're going to hear from Coach Bartlett about it. Talk about it, how Deb Jones pitched last night, and it was very awesome. Again, like, I mean, go a complete game, give up 2 hits, 2 runs, and the offense gave her that cushion, and she was able just to, as they say, the lingo, the kids, I guess, spin the ball awesomely, and had good defense behind her. They said they went 8-2, and then Oregon State, like I said, who's not doing too great right now, but this is you got a chance to, you won 2 in a row, and now you can win 5 in a row, and that's huge because then you go up to Eugene the weekend after that. But yeah, Grand Canyon, like I said, came in at 20-5 overall, which they are now 20-6. They are now 20-6 overall. But yeah, they played in the Kajikawa Classic, in Tempe, and they beat Wisconsin 5-2. Then they beat Maine 10-1, beat Weber State 6-5, beat St. Thomas 12-3. They did lose to Boise State 3-1. And then they played in the Littlewood Classic that they hosted. I think that they hosted. Yeah, GCU. They beat Memphis 7-0. They lost to Cal 7-4, who again is off to a pretty good start this year as well. Number 17, Virginia Tech at the time, they beat them 11-2 in 6 innings. And then Illinois State, they beat 1-0. Then they beat Cal State Fullerton. Again, very good program. They beat them 3-1. And then the GCU ASU Classic, they lost to New Mexico State 4-1, turned around and beat Idaho State 4-0, shut out Seton Hall 3-0. Beat Ohio State 2-1 in extras in 8 innings, and then lost to Texas State 6-0. In the Purple Classic, which they hosted, they beat Toledo 15-7. They beat Montana in 6 innings, and then they beat Montana 13-0 in 5 innings. Beat Pacific 9-1 in 5. Beat New Mexico 5-2, and then beat Toledo again 13-6. The Louisville Slugger Invitational, Long Beach, California. They lost to San Diego State to open that up. Then they beat Princeton, beat Long Beach State, beat Yale, beat North Dakota, and then lost to ASU yesterday. But still 20-6 overall. Team that's not obviously terrible. And yeah, I mean they play good, but for Coach Bartlett, look, this when we look at statistically early on this year, real quick before we hear from her, statistically, I will say this. Hitting wise, and I mentioned Tanya Wendell at 4 RBIs. She's leading the team. She's batting .415 so far this season. Kelsey Hall's at .406. Kayla Lissy, .391. Little Acuna, which again it's Yaya Acuna, but she's batting .373. Shannon Cunningham 315, Elisa Denby 314, and Libby Walsh is at 228. Samantha Swan, I mean, she's at 364. Again, has played in all 13 games, but she started 7. She's batting .364. Audrey Leclerc, who we had heard from last night too, she's batting .343. So again, I mean, as a team, batting .328. Home run wise, I know you guys want to hear about it. They have 23 home runs. Sarah Kinch has 3. Aiden Allen has 1, as does Jordan Van Hook. Samantha Swan has 3. Libby Walsh has 1. Elisa Denby is leading the team with 6 dingers. Shannon Cunningham is right behind her. She has 4. Yaya Acuna has 1, as does Kayla Lissy, and then Kelsey Hall has 2. So 23 home runs, 140 RBIs. For this team, 158 runs scored. So, yeah, look, I mean, when you play teams like Washington, I mean, and I asked, Coach about, that, last game and getting the team going, offensively, and you'll hear her talk about it, but my train of thought is obviously how big it is for Washington to have that. That kind of pitching, but to get your offense going, that's the huge part. So, and it, like I said, early on in the game, it definitely paid off. But without further ado, let us hear from Sun Devil softball head coach Megan Bartlett after last night's 8-2 win over the Lopes.
Yeah. Someone can go. Someone's ready. Go ahead.
Coach, how good does it feel to just have so much momentum going into this weekend? Win against Washington on Sunday, and win tonight, and now go and play Oregon State this weekend.
Yeah, if I could bottle it, I would. But certainly it's a fun clubhouse to be in right now. But very, very proud of the girls, right? Like, they struggled through some early moments in the season, and they continue to believe and work and grind, and they're just good team wins, right? Like, it's not a big bench. It's a pretty small roster actually, but we use everybody, and they support each other well and get after it, and it's pretty special to be a part of.
And last year, I mean, I know, well, this season too, but I mean, pitching is obviously always going to be huge. But to get, you said obviously playing a tough team like Washington, coming back tonight, getting the performance from Deb, now your second year going through a conference, last year a conference, but second year going through it. What does a pitching performance like this do for the staff?
Just so proud of her, right? That's why I brought her here. She threw for me back when she was a little baby, 18-year-old at Ball State, and from afar got to watch her grow and learn and compete. Just to watch the hard work, and really she needed to believe it. That was, I think, as she kind of had starts and she helped us in places and through a beautiful series at UCLA at the end of last season, but it was a big level jump, right? And the demands are they're different because it's the demands here. She always had the physical ability to go up, down, and move it 2-3 different speeds. So yeah, my heart is certainly happy for Deborah, right? Because she's just pitching how we knew she was capable. And yes, to have your one go down the week before season, right? And now, KB will redshirt, and she'll be healthy for the following seasons. And then, Kylie McGee continues to battle the forearm a little bit. And we're hoping by next week we'll have her back in action a little bit. But really, DJ's had to take a lot of the load. And that's a lot of responsibility, but interestingly enough, that's what she's used to, right? From being an ace at mid-major. So she's rolling and she has some confidence and some belief and some momentum, and just so proud of her.
At one point during the second inning when Kelsey Sit was under review, GCU's head coach was losing his mind on the umpire right in front of your dugout. What was going through your head when that was happening?
I don't know. The camera's working. I don't. Yeah, those plays are certainly tough, especially as a calling umpire. They happen so fast and they're pretty dependent on the angle you have, right? Because anytime you see contact, I feel like umpires immediately are like, she's out. But the rule is you have to actually make an attempt for the ball. So they felt like the GCU runner or the GCU defender had created kind of contact with her hands, but wasn't really close enough to the ball. She had gone for the runner instead of the ball. And those are certainly tough calls and they're messy calls. And I was just trying to stay out of it. At that point, we were already up 4, and I'm like, I do not want to get Shannon's wrath right now. So, yeah, but it happens. The game happens. We've all been there. So.
This was Deborah Jones' first complete game of the season. She'll pitch a complete game on Sunday. How important is for your pitchers just to pitch these complete games, especially because your roster is a little bit injured? And
yeah, when they can operate, execute the way they're able with that kind of efficiency, right? So yes, that you have more people fresh as time goes on. It's a big deal. And the reality is we have a lot of veterans left on staff, right? Losing Kenzie was not wonderful, and Kai's kind of our young one, even though she's talented and our young gun. So with Marissa and Mac and Deborah, they know how to beat hitters, and they can go both ways vertically. So, but certainly efficiency is going to pay dividends as we play into postseason, right? Get through the PAC tournament, into a regional, to have 4 or 5 fresh, healthy arms at that point certainly will pay dividends. So yeah, it's good stuff.
Coach, through the injuries, what really has been the biggest impact, especially with these grad students like Alicia Denby and Kelsey Hall coming in? What has really been your thoughts on the biggest impact these players have brought to this table?
Yeah, their veteran presence is wonderful. So anytime that we can make thoughtful adjustments and they can execute those adjustments and not get too wrapped up in the highs and the lows, I think you just naturally do early on in your career. Division I softball is certainly a marathon, not a sprint, right? And with the advent of how much film and technology we have at our disposal as coaches now, right, to be able to create thoughtful plans for the opposing hitters, same things happen into them, so that you have aces and you have veterans at the dish, right, who can make those adjustments. I mean, Lily alone, some of the smart, heady plays she's made in tough moments, like judgment calls, right? Like she just didn't panic and huck a ball across the diamond to first. That she actually, there was 1.2 weeks ago, I think it was bases loaded at one point. And she kind of fielded a ball off her back foot, and then she just flicked it up to second. We turned a double play, or she kept another runner out of scoring position. In a moment we had to give up the run. That's special, right? There's not a lot of shortstops in the country that could have defended that ball, that could have processed through their head, and they would have made that decision. So it's just a luxury that I'm enjoying right now, because we won't always be so old, right? We're certainly going to be a little bit younger at the ball club next year. But yeah, they're doing a tremendous job for us. Very proud.
Coach, you scored all 8 of your runs in those first 2 innings, then didn't have anything else the rest of the way. Is there any concern, I guess, with, obviously you have the offensive power, but then being shut out the rest of the game like that?
Megan Golden is very, very good. So they happened to use her in relief tonight instead of starting her. But she's excellent, right? Her spin rate's off the charts. The rise is very good. The curve is very good. So that's one of those. There's a reason her ERA is in the ones, right? And they've played a tough schedule. I mean, GCU is a very, very good ball club. So that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles sometimes. But that's what makes that team tough. They have a Power 5 pitching staff, and they have kids that do all different things. They've got spinners that work up. They've got kids that can go, 68, 69, pop 70 and go down, and about everything in the middle of that. So it is a lot to prepare for, especially for a Tuesday night. So we will certainly make sure in 2 weeks. We spend a lot of time preparing for her, but it's why she's good, and she's a very good pitcher.
3 hits, 4 RBIs for Tanya Wendell. Can you talk about her performance tonight?
Oh yeah, T's gonna have a ton of performances like that in her career as a Sun Devil. Tanya does incredibly well with upspin. She's got amazing hand-eye coordination. And so she's a young one actually, right? So she's a sophomore. So I think just as because she's done so well, but again, mid-major kid, made a big level jump, and I think just her strike zone awareness gets a little bit better, and she starts to figure out she doesn't have to hit everything, right? Like, babe, you can take walks, right? And you make people pitch to you. As she just gets older in her career and just continues to mature, she's just gonna get better and better, but that's who T is, and that's why she's here, and that's why we asked her to come home. She's a Peoria kid, so want to keep all those amazing Arizona kids home. We're super happy to have her, and you'll see more of that from her.
And there it is. Head coach Megan Bartlett. You heard her right there. And I mean, look, it is, and like I said, talking about obviously the 4 RBIs. Like I said, for Tanya Wendell, and Coach saying she's going to have a lot more of those. But yeah, I mean, her talking about Deb Jones's performance. But that's why it's when your offense gives you that support. I mean, to oversee the obvious, baseball, softball, you know that, but your offense gives you that support. And again, not that you're going to miss a strike zone, give it right back, give up a bunch of walks. But yeah, I mean, Deb Jones just looking. I mean, she's 4-3 on the season now. But yeah, that's a performance. And like I said, you pass, they say pass the baton, but pass the bat, to the next hitter. You start getting consistency like that, and you build it for, a home series this weekend against Oregon State. That is absolutely huge. Huge. And, like you said, I mean, Mac Jones, Marissa Scholl, pitching wise too. Like, this is a staff that, they're going to be able to work, they're going to have to, guide the ship with the gauntlet that is the Pac-12 schedule. And they have again, a lot to build on, but yeah. And defensively too, I would say that to this point of the season as well, they look, not that they weren't, I don't know. I'm not gonna say they weren't relaxed, but just like comfortable in their positions and defensively. And, you see Coach, talking about the defensive play there at short, just kind of like the flick over to second. Like, it's just, it makes sense. And she alluded to as well, because softball usually don't have. I mean, baseball again has been known to have the midweek games, Tuesday and/or Wednesday games. Mostly Tuesday because you go Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but sometimes there's been Wednesday games. But yeah, they're going to Grand Canyon as on a Tuesday as well. They host Utah April 12th through 14th. Oh yeah, tax day. April 12th through 14th. They host Utah, and then that Tuesday on the 16th, they're at Grand Canyon at 6 p.m. And then yeah, Utah and Grand Canyon. And then after Grand Canyon, they go to that place down south, April 19th, 20th, and 21st. Put it on your calendars now, kids. You know, I'll talk more about it, but put it on your calendars. They go take on that team down south in Tucson, the 19th, 20th, 21st. Friday the 19th at 5, Saturday at 4, and then Sunday at 2 p.m. So yes, huge weekend there. And that's the only time they have a series with Arizona. So their series conference series left. Oregon State this weekend, Oregon next weekend, Stanford the first weekend of April, Utah, like I said, the second week end of April, and then Arizona the third weekend of April, that last weekend of April, Cal, and then but the last 6 are at home before the Pac-12 tournament, which is in Stanford. That is in Stanford, May 8th through the 11th. But they're at Arizona, and then their last 6 are at home. They have Cal, and then they close out, of course, with UCLA. So, again, it'll be very, very awesome. I'll obviously talk about it more, a lot coming up. But, again, very encouraging win. They improved to 16-9, 2 in a row now, 15-7 at home. Loving it. Let's build it to 18-7. But we're going to switch gears, again, to baseball, because before I get out of here, we are going to hear from Willie Bloomquist after last night's, again, tough loss. And, again, his frustration, he's not – and I've said this to people before. If you can't – there's certain coaches that, again, they don't have to yell, they don't have to be like in your face, like intense or, but just the way they coach, deal with players, the way they talk about the game, the way they see it. If you can't get fired up to play for Willie, I don't to play baseball for this, for him. I don't know. Again, it's a, you always hear things, and you hear from Willie actually in this, a check your pulse moment. But yeah, they had, again, a game they definitely should have won, could have won. And it's just, a little flustering, but they lost 6-4 to New Mexico. Like I said, Brandon Compton, 0 for 5. Cole Carlone, he started out the season so good. It's your local Coronel Soul product pitcher, 6'3". Again, the way he throws, it's just the way he started out. But now they're not excuses. It's true. It's baseball. It happens. But pitchers need to start doing things, and guys need to, maybe be a little more vocal. You'll hear it from Willie here. But, just to New Mexico, a loss that, again, shouldn't happen. And you'll hear it from Coach. But, so I'll stop. I'll let him tell you. But, here's Willie Bloomquist after last night's tough one against New Mexico State.
It's a team that hadn't had a lot of pitching success this far this year. What were you seeing from the at-bats that just weren't going your way tonight?
That's an embarrassing performance on our part. Just guys not sticking to what we preach, I guess, and what our offensive mindset should be. It's just not. It's not the way we're representing very poorly this program, and to me that falls on my shoulders. So we just discussed it, just now, and that's something that I got to do a better job. Coaches got to do a better job of getting these guys to trust their preparation more and be able to execute when we have an opportunity to make some pay dirt.
What was that discussion with the team like in that post-game research?
That's for our team to know.
You mentioned the other day about being patient, taking walks isn't bad. I mean, getting 8 today, I know that's but
we didn't really cash in on those 8 walks very well. first inning, you know, they literally gave us 3 runs, spotted us, here you go. You guys can have 3. You know, we'll throw it to the backstop and let you guys walk around the bases, give you 3 runs. And we did our best to not let them give us 3 runs with our offensive approach. We, you know, got a 2-0 count and roll the ball over, punching Judy to first, a couple of them, and we got lucky that they threw a couple balls to the backstop to give us 3 runs. Otherwise, we're walking out of a tailor-made situation to blow a game wide open out of the gates, and they gave us 3, and that's all we could muster. And that's, you know, with this capability of our offense, that's embarrassing.
Are there any indicators of what from tonight's performance you could have expected? I don't know, practices or anything like that, or is this sort of really something that caught you off guard?
You know that midweek games are always tricky because of the intensity usually of the weekend series, and then having to come back and tee it up, you know, against a midweek opponent is that's always the trap games. You know, you got U of A coming up this weekend. I'm not saying we were overlooking, but you know, we've tried to adjust everything we can in our practice schedule so these guys are focused for midweek games. Last year we took Mondays off. We had to take, you know, we got to take a day off every week. Today's generation. So we chose to do that last year, Monday before the midweek game, and every midweek game we came out flat. Suggested to us, why don't we practice on Monday then and take Wednesday as the off day. So that's what we've been doing, trying to keep these guys going. I know it sucks to come out after a weekend tough fought series to practice on Monday, but we felt that was better to keep these guys moving and hopefully go into Tuesday, take our off day Wednesday, practice Thursday for the weekend. Clearly that doesn't work either.
So when you were going through the lineup tonight, not to second guess your decision at all, but would you say maybe that kind of, do you think that threw guys off at all? With guys like Tobias hitting lower, Compton going up?
No, I mean, these guys got to understand it's a big boys game. If you're not producing, you're going to get dropped in the lineup. You know, Compton's been swinging great up until today. So he deserves to hit in that cleanup hole. He's hitting 400, and you know, Jacob, I know he's been my 4-hole hitter for a couple of years, but he's been scuffling a little bit. And he'll get it back. He'll be in there probably in the 4-hole this weekend. But you know, from my standpoint, we can't keep throwing the same things against the wall and expecting it to work. We got to change some stuff up here a little bit. And you know, these guys cannot get complacent. And the next step will be somebody else will get a chance to play if you're not going to get it done. So, you know, it's not. I'm not going to keep running this. I have so far, but I'm not going to keep running the same guys out there if they're not going to produce. So at some point in time, it's a big boys game. You gotta grow up.
Coach, can you talk about necessarily the pitching tonight? Obviously, Wyatt, his first collegiate start, very well outing, and then Cole and Sean necessarily having the bumps that they did. Just talk about
that. You know, Wyatt threw the ball great. Came out and impressed and did very well. I was happy for him. You know, Cole, we wanted to try to get him. You know, every situation he's come in has just been, you know, to win or lose a game. You know, 9th inning, and we felt it was kind of important to try to get him some lengthen out a little bit and try to work on, not that he's out there working on things, but just get him comfortable throwing some different pitches and getting a little bit more work than he has in the past, which is, you know, 1 inning and then he's done. So obviously he got touched up a little bit, and you know, that's part of the development process with him. Didn't see him giving up 3 runs, but he did. And hey, we gotta learn from it and move forward. Fitzy, you know, that was throwing the ball good there, and then you know, it happened real quick. You know, I think it was a hit and a walk, and then 3-run homer. So we had confidence he could get that bottom of the lineup out, and it didn't happen.
And was there a limited stretch on Halverson tonight, regardless of how well or not he performed?
I mean, I think it was a little foolish to go much more than 50 pitches with him not having done that before. I've said plenty of times I'm not gonna jeopardize a kid's arm health You know, and I think this was probably, we kind of had a target of maybe around 50 pitches for him before he start tapering off a little bit, and you know, get him out of there with success and build on it. I mean, he did everything we asked him to do. 1 hit and over 3 innings, 6 punch outs. So, heck yeah, he threw the heck out of it.
Would you chalk up tonight's offensive performance to more of a physical mechanics issue or a mental focus approach?
With what these kids are capable of doing, in my opinion, I usually go back to the mental part of it. It's not physical a lot of times with them. Occasionally there's some mechanical tweak that we got to do, but a lot of it's between the ears and just not being ready.
Is there anything that you learned from going through a slump in your career that you're able to talk to them a little bit about the mentality of it?
Clear head and swinging strikes. I don't know how much more simpler I can make it. Be ready for the fastball and hit it in the middle of the field. That's the cure-all for any slump that anybody's ever been in. So for me, it's usually, like I said, if you don't have a clear head and you're not swinging strikes, then there's no sense looking at mechanics, because you're screwed at that point in time if you don't have a clear head. You can't hit balls that are out of the zone, but you got to be ready to hit the ones that are in the zone, which we're not doing.
We heard opening weekend about how preseason there was a lot of emphasis on being aggressive and how you would make them run if they weren't swinging at the first pitch. Is that something that you feel like the team has kind of lost their touch with the last bunch of games?
Yeah, I do. In today's world, we can't run them after the game. So otherwise, they would probably be running right now. So, you know, we have to do a better job of emphasizing that in practice. And again, that's where I take my responsibility is, I guess I'm not being tough enough on them in practice.
Being 2 games under 500 at this stage, how do you put that into perspective for this group? Obviously very tough conference that you're competitive throughout, but in terms of obviously the wins category at this point, probably not where you wanted it to be.
No, it's not. It's not the expectations. We don't, you know, the win-loss record, that's embarrassing. I'm not happy with that by any stretch of the imagination. I don't care who we play. I don't care if we're playing the whole schedule of top 10 teams in the country. I don't expect to be below 500. It's not what people expect around here. It's not what I expect. And if the players expect that, then they shouldn't be here. So, you know, on the flip side of things, we got 40 games, regular season games left. It's a lot of baseball, and most of them are conference games. You know, the meat of our season is in front of us still. So, you know, who better than to turn this around on than the team we're playing next?
With you had mentioned over the weekend that to some extent the player-to-player accountability is what is needed at this stage of the season. Who are some of those guys that, with you know where the team is at after a series loss and a midweek loss, that you kind of look to initiate?
At this point, I don't care who it is. It just needs to be somebody. It can't always come from me. You know, I'm the head coach. Yes, I understand that. I can sit up there and talk softly. I can sit up there and scream and yell. I can sit up there and do whatever I want, but it's going to come a lot more powerful coming from a teammate at some point in time. And that's what I've been asking for a long time around here, is for teammates to start holding each other accountable for stuff. I can't see everything. Coaches cannot see everything that happens all the time. The players, there's enough of them to where if they're all on board with doing the same stuff and preaching the same message, then they should be able to go up to a guy and hold somebody accountable for a lazy mistake, right? It can't always be me. But in the meantime, until I can get that, it's gonna have to be me. So.
What are some of the barriers to that, maybe that you've noticed in the dynamic between the players and why that hasn't come so naturally?
There's 37 tremendous kids in there. Phenomenal kids. I mean, I kind of joked to myself, probably let most of you guys go on a date with my daughter. Right? You guys are great kids, love you to death. But the problem is, we need a little bit more edge. You know, we need a little bit more willingness to call each other out. We need a little bit more, can't say the word, but we need a little bit more toughness, meanness, I guess, when it comes to playing competitive winning baseball. You have to have a little bit of that friction in a clubhouse for you to be any good, in my opinion. And right now we have a bunch of guys that are phenomenal kids that I think are a little bit tentative to do that with each other. And I'm trying to encourage them, it's okay. You know, it doesn't mean you don't like the guy. It means that you care about the program enough to hold someone accountable. So when we start getting that, I think the tides will turn very quickly. But if we don't, you know, as I told them, we're going to be vanilla tapioca pudding. You know, that's not good enough around here.
You mentioned Arizona this weekend. When they came here last year, very highly emotionally charged series. In addition, now you're going on the road. What needs to happen in that Thursday practice and early Friday to get the team mentally ready to play a weekend series with your biggest rival?
You know, I think the message after today's game hopefully will come up. So we'll see. Hopefully it does, because we're going to have to play better. You know, and I think you got to start somewhere. And to me, maybe that starts with the sort of message that they heard today. Hopefully that gets them going.
Do you think the team can get mentally ready by Friday to play?
Damn well better, right? I don't want to sit up here talking about losing to U of A. Like it's not what I signed up for. I want to talk about beating them and how good it feels to beat them. So that's our goal. And much as it's cliche, we can't do anything about this New Mexico loss right now. It's over. It's in the rear view. It was ugly. We played terrible. It was embarrassing. But it is over, and the next opponent is people that we don't care for too much.
With Arizona making the tournament last year over you guys, what's that mindset kind of going into that series?
I would say that hasn't been forgotten.
In the preseason, we had talked about some leadership dynamics and certain players that you were looking toward for leadership, some of the returners. Did you feel like throughout that process of going through fall ball and then looking forward to spring, that leaders did emerge, or was there sort of still that question marks in that area that are now sort of showing up in some ways?
We have a lot of leaders by example. You know, I've used Ryan Campos for 2 years now. Just leads by example. You know, work ethic off the charts. Great kid. Would never change that. But we need some more vocal leaders that aren't afraid to stand up in front of guys, whether they play or don't play. You know, to hold guys accountable and stuff. So we have enough guys in there. Hoping if a couple of them start doing a little bit more of that, because that's, in my mind, that's what we need.
Kind of going back to the tournament question, it was mentioned by the selection committee last year that a big reason why you didn't get in over Arizona was the 2 midweek losses, obviously this weekend series, but will there be a discussion of some sort with the guys about how one of these losses can kind of come back to haunt you down the stretch?
No, I mean, it'll just be, you know, again, there isn't much we can, I'm sure the selection criteria will probably change this year, you know, so you never really know what you're aiming for, but you just got to win as many games as possible. And you know, obviously our goal is to play well, and I still don't believe margin of victory should be factored in, but apparently it was. But you know, bottom line is you go try and play winning baseball, and the results take care of itself. That'll be the main emphasis with these guys this weekend is go out and try and win a ball game on Friday night. Do whatever we got to do to win Friday.
Do you think that energy that's going to be at High Corporate this weekend will kind of help your guys kind of get back into it and start feeling it a little bit?
Oh, I told them if you ain't going to wake up for this one, then I'd check your pulse. Like, I don't know if you're alive, if you're not going to wake up and get ready to play this weekend, because this will be a fun one. You know, the fans down in Tucson, they show up down there, they're they're not the, trying to use the right words, they're not the verbally nicest of all people at times, but that's part of the beauty of college baseball. I mean, last time we went down there and had a weekend series, man, that was, I think we lost 2 or 3, but that was the most fun I had playing or being around a baseball series in a long time. It was intense, it was hostile, we had fans in the dugout yelling at us and profanities and everything else, but oh my God, that's kind of fun. I miss that. That's college baseball. You know, that's a rivalry that's you know, a lot older than me and you guys, right? But it's one that's fun, and it's one that's how it's supposed to be. So as much as we dislike each other, this is the series I look forward to the most. You know, especially going down there and playing down there and expecting nasty things said to us and yelled at us. That's cool, man. Good. That's what college baseball is about.
Is that what this team needs right now? A little bit of hostility towards them?
Maybe. I'm kind of hopeful that this could come at a better time. Let's go down and create a stronger bond, because we'll be going to a hostile environment and, you know, playing against a team that doesn't like us just as much as we don't like them. So maybe that's what we need.
Thanks, Coach.
Well, you heard it right there. And like I said, if you can't, you can hear the frustration, the encouragement, the confidence in his team, the belief, but that leadership part. Losing 6-4 last night, and I mean, he used the word embarrassing, and I'm believe me, he didn't just come and say it to us. I'm guessing he said it directly like that to his team as well. So yes, fired up for this weekend, and that, like I said, in and of itself, very, 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 very huge. To take on that team down south, like you said, they're not verbally the nicest, and that was very wow, much more mature than I would have said it as a head coach. That's all I know. But that's just me. So yeah, stoked for again this weekend. I like, you know, saw the comment I put up, but Lotone talking about it, and it's again very exciting. I mean, but men's hoops tonight. Lastly, before we get out of here, Utah first game, 82-70. They won. It was in Tempe. They won 82-70, and like I said, at DFA. At the time, 3-0 in the Pac-12. And that's a game. Guess who led the team in scoring then? I was going to say, I remembered it was Jose Perez. Jose Perez had 26 points that night. And it was one of his few not so good free throw shots. He was 4 for 8 from the line, but he was 9 for 16 from the field overall, 4 for 5 from 3, 4 for 8 from the line, 26 points. Collins had 19. Adam Miller had 13. But yeah, I mean, ASU shot 50% from the field overall, 43% from 3. Again, the free throws, 62.5% at home. But yeah, I mean, you score 41 points each half, and you win 82-70. That was the first game. And then the second game in Salt Lake City, they won 79-61. And Adam Miller, well, guess who was a co-leader in scoring? But Adam Miller and Jose Perez both had 16 points to lead the team. Frankie Collins had 14, and then Jemiah Neal coming off the bench actually led the team in scoring them with 21 points. So, again, matchup-wise, like, yeah, Jose Perez isn't here. Maybe Jemiah Neal starts. Maybe you start Kamari Lance to bring Jemiah Neal off the bench, do the same thing. Either way, options for Bobby Hurley. But, yeah, and I mean, in that game, they shot 57% from the field. ASU was 30 of 52 that night in Salt Lake City. Again, not too great from 3. They were 7 for 20 for 3, 35%. But they did shoot 75% from the free throw line. And they were 80% in the second half. So, look, that's where they need to be. And when you look at, that game, Tyler Bilodeau had 21 points. Michael Radish had 12. Jordan Pope had 11. Oh, no, I was looking at the wrong game. That's Oregon State. No, it's not Utah. Man, I clicked on, it was 85-77. Sorry, they beat Utah. Yeah, it was 85-77 that they beat Utah in Utah. Yes, 85-77. So, but I'm like, I don't recognize any of those players for Utah. Those look like Oregon State players. But Jose Perez, 21 points that night. Jemiah Neal, though, had 17. Frankie Collins had 13. Adam Miller had 16 off the bench. So without Perez there, a guy like a Kamari Lands, who, he had 2 points that night. But, Kamari Lands, Sean Phillips Jr., you can make up for that. They shot ASU shot 45% from the field, 43% from three. They were 10 for 23. And then, again, 73% from the free throw line. Brandon Carlson, who we talked about, first team, 25 points that night. And then Cole Bahima had 12 points. Gabe Masson had 11. And then Keita had 10. So, again, 4 guys in double figures for them, 4 in double figures for the Devils. So, look, this Utah matchup, and Frankie Collins, had 3 steals in that second game against Utah. And then in the first game against Utah, Frankie Collins, I want to say had 5. Was it 5 that game in Tempe? Oh, 3. So he had 3 both times. So he was averaging 3 steals a game, 3 extra offensive possessions for ASU each time. They had 10 steals in that first game. And it's crazy. They had 10 steals in the first game, and so they averaged 10 steals a game against Utah as well. So anyway, but that's it. Started a teeny bit late, went a teeny bit long, but you know what? We'll be back on track tomorrow. 12-1. Again, want to thank everybody for joining in. Low Tone, thanks for the conversation. I hope I know it's a typical me answer as my shameless plug. Sports Arena, my co-host on the Sports Arena will say 10 o'clock Eastern. Monday nights live on the Sports Arena. That is a typical me answer, but I'm with you. I think they could both be fighting for regional spots. I think that softball, could host a regional, and look, baseball, and that's the challenge of this game. But the offense becomes consistent. This pitching, the way the pitching is growing, believe me, man. Baseball, look, could host a regional too, and could do, obviously, they want to do good in conference play. Overstate the obvious, but in the Pac-12 tournament, which is going to be at Scottsdale Stadium, that's another one of those things. It's just flat out awesome. So, nonetheless, both of you there. But anyway, you guys enjoy the rest of your Mike. What day is it? Hump day. Yes, that's for my mom. Mama loves that. But yeah, have a great rest of your Wednesday. I will see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Hopefully with guest, working on a guest, so you'll have to just join me then to see. But yes, have a great rest of your Wednesday. Again, hit me up on Twitter at Diablo00 on X, artist formerly known as Twitter. You can see the show here live every day. My IG, Michael.Kirchner.5. And guys, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat 005 on YouTube, at MVC005 on YouTube. Subscribe. Again, more interviews coming. I'll actually play sound from ASU's Pro Day again, which was today. But we'll play some sound from that, and we'll have a party on Thursday tomorrow, and hopefully talking about an ASU victory And as they get set to play, well, if they do win, they would go on to play Colorado. So we'll see what happens. So, hey, have a phenomenal rest of your Wednesday. And yes, hopefully going around Sun Devil Nation makes you even happier like it does me. And yes, Pitchfork Lunchers, you know it. As always, forks up.
Cherry's three. Johnny Walker. Mashing up against control. His shot. Bruce score. They score. They tie the game up 2-2. Some drives out for Robbie Ryan. Her three right on the money. This is Taya Hansen for three. Other side of the rim with a pretty reverse. Wow. 5 seconds to go. Find Hawk.